Sometimes I'm selfish, get jealous. I feel a little helpless. My whole world has shifted again. You made a promise, I kept it. No.
Welcome back to Wicked Gingerbread if you've been here before. If not, my name is Molly. I try to take recipes, really good tasty food, and lighten it up a little bit because I sure like to eat. I have a huge sweet tooth, so I'm always looking for ways to kind of satisfy that sweet tooth. So I've came up with a couple recipes. You're making it lighter. It's not health food. It's not spinach. Cherry vanilla orange scones. And we're going to use the orange two ways. The orange zest is going in the scone mixture, the cake mix, and then we're not going to waste the inside of it. That's going to be the glaze with some powdered sugar. You could use pastry flour or whole wheat flour, almond flour. That's 1 cup, and then we're also going to use 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon baking powder, 1/4 of a cup old-fashioned oats, and I'm using organic coconut sugar. I'm using 2 tablespoons. I know it seems like it's not enough sugar, but the cherries that I'm using are the dark sweet cherries, and these actually sweeten this a lot. And the glaze is going to be a powdered sugar mixture, so it kind of balances out. Okay, and that's all of the dry ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. Oh, I do want a little salt in there. Okay, a little bit of salt, even though it's a sweet. And the zest of 1 orange. And now we're going to do 1/3 of a cup of almond milk. I used unsweetened. About 1/2 of a tablespoon of a good quality vanilla extract. 1/3 of a cup egg whites, or you would use 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. Before you put the cherries in, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to put in, instead of using oil, I generally use, for sweet dishes, I'll use 4 ounces of unsweetened applesauce. Takes the place of the oil. I'm going to put about a cup, maybe a little over a cup, 1/4, 1.5 cups of frozen dark sweet pitted cherries. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and put it in our pan. And then just kind of pack it down. Okay, this will probably bake for about 20 minutes. You want to do the toothpick test on it. And then you have to let it cool. Okay, into the oven, 375. I'm going to check it in about 12 minutes. Okay, so the scones actually baked for about a ½ hour. I would recommend, this recipe is delicious. The last time I made the recipe, I used whole wheat flour instead of the coconut flour. Coconut flour really tastes good, but it made the pastry a little crumbly. So I would highly recommend subbing in whole wheat flour. That was a cup instead of coconut flour. You could try pastry flour, experiment a little, but I know that before, whole wheat flour works the best. So the scones are now out of the oven and they're cooled pretty well, and I cut them in little wedges. So now we need to make the glaze. So this glaze just has 2 parts to it. powdered sugar. I'm using Lakanto sugar-free. It has monk fruit and the rest of that orange. And then I'm just going to drizzle it on each little section I made. So remember, with powdered sugar, you want to just use a little bit of liquid. So this is probably going to take, for all the scones, probably going to be about 1/3 of a cup of powdered sugar. And then I'm just going to put some of just want to squeeze a little of the orange. And then just give it a stir. You can always add more liquid, a lot easier than, you might have to go back in and add more powdered sugar if it gets too runny. So just add it little bits at a time. And by the way, this glaze would be great on almost any pastry. Yep. You want it to be almost like an icing. That's perfect. Okay. And then I have another half left. So I'm actually going to go ahead and like cut pieces of it so people can tell that it has orange in it. See, it's a little crumbly. It tastes really good. So I just cut a little wedge. I'm going to serve it alongside a little piece of orange. Then you just want to drizzle. And there you have the cherry, vanilla, orange scone. Try it for breakfast. Try it for a dessert. It's really tasty, and it does, if you use a whole grain flour, there's not a lot in here that's really that bad. And then if you use the monk fruit sweetener for the powdered sugar and the sugar, it seems like a really good option for a sweet. Don't miss the next recipe. If you like chocolate, it is no guilt chocolate brownies, and I'm using fat-free cottage cheese, if that gives you a hint. So come on and join me. We'll make some chocolate brownies. And if you can, use your blender, food processor, hand mixer if you don't have anything else, because we're using cottage cheese in this, and it does have curds in it, so you want it to be really smooth and creamy. I've got the oven preheated at 350, and you want like a 11 by 9, 12 by 9, and I've sprayed it because we're going to put the brownie mixture in here. We're going to need about 1/2 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. And so you want to microwave this and just get it kind of melted. I put just a touch of water in it, and I'm going to microwave it for like just a few seconds at a time and stir it, and we'll put that directly into the food processor. Okay, so into the food processor, 1/2 cup of egg whites, or you would use 3 eggs, 1 cup of fat-free cottage cheese, half tablespoon of vanilla. I'm going to go ahead and put the melted semi-sweet, that was 1/2 cup. One teaspoon baking powder. And instead of sugar, I'm using Truvia. Now this is half the normal amount. Normally I would put a 1/2 cup of sugar in, so I'm just going to use 1/4. And I'm using whole grain flour, so 1 cup leveled off. show you one last recipe on the healthy sweets. You could almost consider this a breakfast or a snack. It's chia pudding, but it's almond joy chia pudding. So you have a little chocolate element. What you want to do first, this needs to chill for at least 2 hours. I chilled some overnight. You're going to pour a half of a cup. If you want to make 2 servings, make it double this. A half a cup of almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. Give it a shake. And then you're going to take half of this, put it in another container, and you're going to add a tablespoon of cocoa powder. So I already did this and I chilled it. I chilled this and I chilled. So it actually turns into like a pudding. So all you have to do now is assemble it. So we're going to have layers of chocolate and chia. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble one of these. Remember, this is Almond Joy, so we are going to use some chocolate chips. And if you like Almond Joy with coconut, feel free to put coconuts on it. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit, so make 1 serving, so a little of the chia pudding, a layer of the chocolate, a few almonds, a little bit of coconut, and then more layers of the chia pudding. And by the way, I also added a sweetener. I added this, you want to use maple syrup or honey, just about a half of a tablespoon, or however much you think you might need. So then another layer. A little more of the chocolate. Okay, and then to finalize this, I'm going to add just a small handful of semi-sweet chocolate chips, small handful of almonds, and a pinch of coconut. So here is a really nice, healthy Almond Joy chia pudding. So experiment with your chia puddings. They're really good for you. And don't be afraid to mix it up with different nuts and different flavor profiles. So thank you for watching this episode. Eat some sweets, but keep it healthy. I'll see you next time.
I'm walking around in the circle of life, doing the things I know, walking the same way.